DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Esport Management, and GGBet.
Well, we saw a Brazilian team pick up their first win on the day, and we're guaranteed to see at least another one, as we've got another Brazilian derby lined up here at DreamHack Open Rio 2019. It's beautiful and sunny outside during the day, but the sun has set and it's starting to get chilly, and things are going to get a whole lot colder for whoever gets knocked down into the lower from this one. It's going to be Redemption, the team that came in at the last minute. And then it was Sharks, another Brazilian team that maybe people aren't necessarily super familiar with. Hopefully the people to my left can help you understand a little bit more about these teams. Dustin's looking at me wide-eyed like, I'm going to do my best.
Guarantee you one of them, at least.
One of them.
I can give you half.
So here's the thing, and we can just talk about this openly.
Sure.
AGO had to drop out of the tournament due to a player health concern. Something with an ear infection, couldn't really fly, would have been immensely painful for him, and who knows if he would have even been able to hear. So Redemption fills in at the last minute, taking that spot. And I have them picked as a dark horse because I know very little about the team due to the fact that it was very, very last minute. And I think that's the same case for you, Dust. Like, you didn't have time to, build your...
I was literally about to get on the plane when I found out that they were in the tournament, so I had to, like, quickly kind of look them up a little bit. So we have a little bit on them, but not a whole lot, just because most of these players aren't, like, super noteworthy when you compare them to, like, the rest of Brazilian teams. And the lineup that they have now has only just recently come together, only played, like, a handful of games that you can find. So, yeah, it's definitely... You really have to turn over some stones and, like, get a microscope out to be able to kind of see any evidence about this team.
You really do. But if Redemption is anything like any of the other Brazilian teams that we've been seeing today, then I'm expecting that dark horse that you mentioned.
I mean, here's the thing, right? We'll pull up the group so we can take a look at who is in it. When you look at the teams that are competing, like Sharks, Redemption, W7M, they've all, like, taken maps off of each other at times. Like, won best of threes, lost best of threes, like, 2 days later to the same exact team. So I feel like the Brazilian matchups for them are far more head-to-head, like one-on-one, whereas if they were to go against Valiance, it's like, okay, this is pretty much a lopsided matchup. So Redemption against Sharks, like that, I think they've actually played each other and traded maps off of each other.
It definitely does, and it makes a huge difference playing versus a regional team that you're familiar with. You see them on a daily basis, and let's face it, Redemption probably look up to Sharks. They've watched their demos, and players like Knack, they've been in the scene for so long. And so these are the players that players on Redemption are looking up to and trying to learn from and watching their demos and taking pointers and tips from them. So you're absolutely right. It should be a closer match than if they played someone like Valiance. Why do I keep saying
You'll get
Valiance?
it. We'll get there.
You'll get there eventually. I mean, Dust, do you agree? Like, does that make sense? I mean, they're playing against a regional opponent. Would it be maybe, like we've talked about how maybe sometimes it's more beneficial to play against an opponent who doesn't know you, but playing against an opponent you also know is also an advantage.
I mean, the thing is, I imagine Sharks probably don't know too much about Redemption. Like, I actually couldn't find any head-to-head results between them. Maybe, like, in the years past on previous teams, they might know some of these players on an individual level, but as a lineup, they don't really have much to look at. I will say this, like, Sharks is actually one of the team in Brazil that in local play has actually kind of fallen off a little bit. Like, they've actually lost in several qualifiers and stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So they've actually had some struggles, right? So there could be opportunity in that regard, but if we're honest, like, Redemption is a giant question mark. Dude, I even went to go try to talk to Bita, like one of the Portuguese commentators. Great guy, by the way. I tried to ask him about him, and even he was like, man, there's just really not much there to tell you. And I was just like, well, now I can feel a little bit confident.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For those that don't know, Dust does not just memorize all this stuff. Dust has a long list of information that he records. It's actually quite admirable how much he prepares for these events. So when you come into something like that, that probably scares the hell out of Dust.
Yeah, this is like my worst nightmare. To have no data to go off of. But it makes it more fun because then we get to talk about other things.
Well, I'm told that Christine's got 3 reasons why, and I'm really curious as to what they are.
Yes, I've got 3 reasons why I think Sharks is going to win this matchup. Now, as we mentioned, we don't have much much information on Redemption. I have that as my third reason why, so I don't know why I said that first, but the first reason is more experience, right? I mean, Sharks, they're a team that moved to Europe. I'm not exactly sure if they're still in Europe, but they did make that move. They invested their time, they invested a lot of money into making this project work, right? And if players are willing to take that step and sacrifice their home space and living, they definitely they're hungry, right? And so that's the edge that they have. And the world just doesn't know much about Redemption. So gotta give the edge to Sharks here for sure.
More experience and not knowing anything about Redemption, which is what I actually have like as a benefit for them. No one knows what to expect. You're coming in as a completely blind pick, which has benefited numerous teams in the past. Going back to the early days when Brazilian CS started to pop off, when we saw, I think they were Kaboom at the time, or they might have been Keyd Stars, I can't remember which.
Kaboom.
It was Kaboom. And like no one knew what to expect. And the same thing happened with Renegades when they were back in, when they were Vox Eminor. Like they had a few good maps early on. Obviously they didn't do like amazing, but it was like, wow, who is this team and what have they done? So we do have the map vetoes coming in. Are we going to see Mirage again?
I mean, the only thing that I know, because I don't know anything about Redemption's map pool, but I know that Sharks typically are going to want to avoid a map like Overpass. They're not really that great on Dust 2, and even though Inferno's kind of iffy, but now we see that Redemption got rid of Inferno, so I'll expect Sharks to stay away from Overpass and Dust 2. And then, again, you never know what's going to happen with Vertigo. Like, maybe teams play chicken with it. Maybe it's going to be the last ban like it's been the other 3 games. So that's always something you have to kind of keep your eye on.
You know, it is Good Friday. Maybe if I toss one up to the big man upstairs, we'll get to see some Vertigo? Maybe.
I really hope it actually doesn't come down to Mirage. Redemption, as a newer team, they
Hate to see it.
Darn it.
That would have been even better.
It's always in the same
yeah,
spot as
it's
well.
been like the 5th or 6th veto pretty much every time.
I'm telling you, it's a game of chicken. So we are going to come down to Train. Get to see a new map today.
I like that. We're going to be able to see, I mean, we're going to be able to tell very early on whether Redemption have something prepared here or not, especially on a map like Train. It is very, very heavily strategical based. You're not going to be able to gain much space on your opponent if you don't have your T side. If you haven't dry run set pieces, it's going to be very challenging.
See, here's the problem, though, is like outside of Cash, which obviously isn't even available anymore, which was probably Sharks' best map in the offline environment, this is their most played map for Sharks on Train, and they are very successful with it. They're 5-1 on LAN on Train. So I feel like you've gone into dangerous waters as Redemption. Maybe they have some personal comfort on Train in their own right, but to allow one of Sharks' best maps to come through when you had 3 Thans, that's a little bit questionable, I think.
It is questionable, but on the same token, hey, maybe I'm going to give Redemption the benefit of the doubt here and give them props for their preparation, hopefully. They didn't have much time to prepare because of the last-minute call-in. However, they did have last night to prepare, and this information is out there. We all have it. Sharks Train, it is their most played map, so there's a lot of intel out there for Redemption to study up on, and so hopefully that's what they did, and they show us something special here. Because if they're going to make the bans, the vetoes go down to Train, in a best of 1, you have every opportunity to ban that map out versus Sharks. They have no excuse.
Yeah.
So you have to assume that they definitely prepared something here.
Yeah, you have to assume one or two things. Like either they have watched enough of Sharks and they know enough of what Sharks does that they can counter it, or they are also really good on Train and they feel like they are more confident and more prepared and better on Train than their opponent is, which is a little bit of a roll of the dice.
And as we kind of go through some of these players, some of these guys have played together in the past. Like I know, for example, FP1, Cad, and Ali have been playing together in other teams like C4 and Santos since late last year. So they have a little bit familiar with each other. I also, if I'm not mistaken, some of these guys have played together on a couple of other teams in past years as well. So there's going to be some familiarity, but as a lineup, again, very brand new, very few games. The only thing that's really noteworthy is they beat W7M in the league match for the Brazil Game 2019 tournament, but that's literally it. Like, you're grasping at straws to really find any type of data on this team and what they're capable of. And if you look at the history of each of these individual players, each of them have pretty much struggled to have kind of consistent talent and like consistent firepower, and none of them really have any notable results really even within their own region. So it's definitely difficult to kind of pinpoint like a particular star player to keep an eye on or any real just like maps you think they might be able to play well on. It's very difficult to find much.
But being from that, in that scenario, in that position, hey, Redemption, they have nothing to lose here. They literally have nothing to lose. They only have stuff to gain. And so with that, keeping that in mind, hopefully they've discussed that, they've strategized for that, and used that to their full advantage.
Yeah, we've been mentioning this all tournament long. When you're coming in as like the dark horse, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Whereas the team who's the favorite, the pressure's on them. Like, even though, you know, in the interview with Nexa, they said Valiance didn't really feel like there was much pressure on them. In my mind, I feel like they had more pressure than their opponent because they're supposed to win. They're supposed to be the team that's coming out on top.
And the fact that, as we mentioned, Sharks, they've been a project a long time coming. They've been working on this project for a very long time with the same players, and so they definitely have a lot to lose if they don't show up here today versus Redemption. So yeah, definitely.
I mean, the thing is, like, this team has had their struggles recently online. We're talking about a little bit earlier, like, they didn't qualify for Dallas. They lost to W7M in that tournament. Didn't qualify for EPLs into Daytona. They lost out on the ESL Latin American League to W7M as well. So their online results within the region have been a little bit falling off. And I mean, you really have to kind of go back to last year to find any success. Like, they played that PGL Grand Slam event that was over in the Middle East, and they were able to beat Tyloo in 5-power in some best of 3. So that's kind of neat. We've seen them at the EPL finals, I think, the last 2 seasons prior to the one we're in right now. Always group stage exits, but you know, they took a map off of Cloud9. That's like way back. I think it's May 2018. That was like last year EPL Season 7. And this last EPL finals they went to in December, they beat North in the best of 3 2-0. So they've had a couple of cool little things like that happen, but no long-standing success in the offline environment. And they have a few players who are pretty strong. Exit in particular, I think, is a really, really consistent kind of peripheral player for this team. Definitely keep your eyes on Exit. I think he'll probably be the ones kind of putting up the numbers. And then JNT, their opper, can definitely have that potential to have big games. And RCF's only 18 years old. And he has his ups and downs, I would say. So he has like a high ceiling, but he hasn't had that consistency yet. But again, he's 18 years old, not that much experience, so need to see what his future is going to be.
The one thing that keeps popping out in my mind with Sharks, and I remember watching Cash one of their matches, and Leo Drunky was he's their entry fragger, really strong rifler, going in, no fear. So they definitely need him to show up here today on this LAN environment and do the same thing that he does online.
No, I think that's a fair point. Like, Leo Drunky has had his issues in some of their online competitions, but you're exactly right. Next to Exit, he's probably been one of their best offline performers, and it's great to have someone who can, you know, put up the numbers from an entry fragger role, which is a very difficult position to do it from. So him next to guys like Exit and JNT definitely going to be big, especially on a map like Train, where you're going to be relying on a guy like Leo Drunky to kind of, you know, create your openings alongside JNT's AWP. And it's a map that's very tactical, takes a lot of coordination, and so as long as those players are up to snuff, then you're going to be in a good situation.
You guys can go ahead and drop your votes in the chat, !RPOA or !Sharks, depending on who you think is going to take this one. And I think a lot of people are probably leaning towards Sharks simply because there is a greater sample size, there's a greater pool of information, and you also have, again, something that we saw in some previous games, name brand recognition. Like, you have players on Sharks that you know.
It's like playing Let's Make a Deal, like an old game show that maybe people know from like American television, where like you know what prize you already have, and it's pretty good, but there's the mystery box. But it could be a Zon. It could be absolutely nothing. So that's basically what you're doing in a situation like this between Sharks and Redemption POA is you want the mystery box? You have no idea what's inside of it? Or do you want like kind of a known value that you know, hey, at least this team can typically perform offline against regional competition?
I feel like I've been going mystery box all day long. That feels
you really
like
have thrown some Hail Marys up there.
Well, hold on. To be fair, in all of those games, it was close. And the one time that we all got it wrong was actually probably the most one-sided game, which was still close.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
agree.
you know, there was a very real chance that United take that first game. Obviously, you know, it didn't kind of pan out that way. And then even in the W7M game, I'm watching, I'm like, they can win this.
Yeah.
They could really win this. This is looking so good. And then it just kind of fizzled out. So, you know, even though I have been kind of homering the underdog picks, I still think that each of them was credible to a certain extent. I feel like you could make the same argument here because there is that value of we don't know what to expect. I don't think the opponents know what to expect. So like if we don't know and we're the ones with the Dustopedia, I like worry what the players could possibly know about this team.
Yeah, I mean, again, like some of these guys have been playing together, or I've been playing in some level of teams since like mid-2016, even all over on the Redemption side. So I'm sure that at least like through pugs and through other things, they probably at least know who some of these players are and what they like to do. So there's probably some familiarity, but yeah, as a lineup, not a whole lot at all. So going to a map like this, I definitely think that probably the Twitch chat will probably be siding with Sharks, and I think that probably most of us are going to want to doing the same thing if I had to take a guess.
Definitely. I mean, I do want to be on your side though, Bach. I want to be on your side and vote for the underdog. But it's still it's so hard to do so without information telling me where to lean.
That was risky, man. You could have pulled your cable out. Like,
Oh,
had a tech
I have
issue.
so much
Oh,
slack.
okay. All right.
I can dance all day.
That's
I
great.
can get behind you guys. This has actually been like one of my favorite things. I could do jump rope with this right now. It's been amazing.
I kind of want to see that. Some jump rope action.
I don't want to break anything.
Yeah, let's yeah.
Specifically on me, not the set. I feel like I'd be the first thing to break. So, I mean, we've got the talent prediction up there. Dust, I'm guessing you're going with Sharks.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going on a map like Train that takes a lot of coordination, I do think that Sharks has a lot of good set pieces, a lot of great utility usage, and again, I think Leo Drunky and JNT are going to be able to create those openings. So I certainly have them. I think this is like one of the worst maps that Redemption could have probably gone on to, given Sharks' personal comforts and what I've seen them play well.
Or their best,
All right.
Dust.
Yeah, I mean, they let it through for a reason. That's the one thing you have to remember. It didn't just sneak through. It's not a best of 3. It's a best of 1.
Best of 1.
You had every opportunity to get rid of the map, and you didn't. What does that say?
It all comes down to like personal comfort versus banning opponent's strength and like what you think is most useful. Personally, I think if you're the underdog, you probably want to get rid of the strengths of like an opponent. But, you know, to each their own.
That's generally the case, yeah.
We'll see.
Sometimes the greatest strength is also the greatest weakness.
Dude, if I was Redemption, I'm throwing the Hail Mary on Vertigo if I was Redemption, to be 100% honest with you. Like, no one's had a lot of time to prep that map, so that takes away the disadvantage of you being a new team, but that's not the case. So.
I mean, right now, if you're like a nuke team coming to this event, if you weren't practicing Vertigo, you're insane, because ultimately they're like, oh, we're going to take out nuke because we don't want to play them on that, and you're like, like
yeah,
we've got
I think
Vertigo
tomorrow
now.
we're going to see that. A
Once
lot
we
of
hit
these
best of
teams
threes.
aren't going to have the luxury of banning down to the one single map, and so tomorrow we should see a little bit more spicy map vetoes.
So,
for
Potter,
sure.
what do you think here?
Yeah, what are you thinking?
You're on the button now.
I got to go with
Do it.
I gotta go with
Do it.
Sharks.
Oh.
I want to vote for Redemption just because I am so impressed with the talent pool in Brazil, and we've been being impressed every day, every round from these teams, and so I expect more or less the same from Redemption. However, I do think that in the end, Sharks will be victorious. It's
Now
up to you.
Now I don't know. All right, so here's the deal. I agree with Dust that Train is kind of a risky pick. I think that if you're going against your opponent's strongest map, that's a little bit sketchy. But you wouldn't do it unless you had a reason.
Yeah.
And unless they were just coming in blind like we are to them, there should be a reason for this. I'm going to go with Redemption. I'm going to try and catch up to Dust on the picks because at this point, I'm so far behind, I might as well just throw it out there and go for it.
I respect the strategy.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, I
Listen, is
respect
there a
it.
score tally at the end of this?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
We don't do anything.
No.
Then I'm sticking with Sharks.
It's just the only time we ever kept track was at I think Austin when Hayes was down like 1-9. at
Dude,
one
Hayes
point.
had
He
some
got
rough
like every prediction
predictions,
wrong.
that's for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
It was
did.
not going well, and even like even the underdogs he was like hoping for, just nothing.
I think he holds
couldn't
records in
boy.
the DreamHack Open Halls of Fame for like predictions going the wrong
Unlucky.
way. So unlucko mallucko for our boy Hayes, but
Why don't we see what Twitch chat thought as well, because they've been voting this whole time. We'll see if they agree with us. They're probably going to agree with you guys. Okay, so it's not as bad as the last game even. So the
Yeah.
last game was what, 88-12.
And Ince ended up winning
And
that.
Ince ended up dominating. And I think a large part of that, like you said, was the energy. I kind of wonder if we're going to see that from these two teams, because Furia is a way more reserved team on lane. Like, you didn't see that same level of energy from Furia when they were winning rounds as you were seeing from INTZ.
For sure, and they started off so quiet. It's hard to judge that best of one. If this was a BO3 series, I'm sure that Furia would have been able to bounce back. And being a best of one, it is really hard to judge them for their performance here today. But so I'm expecting them to come back swinging tomorrow.
But like looking at these two teams, should we expect to see some of that same like kind of playing to the crowd, getting amped? I mean, INTZ was getting calmed down after winning Pistol.
dude, I imagine if you're Redemption coming into a tournament with like 2 days notice and you're like a huge underdog, you don't have like a whole lot of big results, any round you win, you're probably like really happy about it. Especially because we didn't talk about this earlier, but like a player like Ali, I think his name is, he's only played one LAN his entire life. And like, so this is his second ever LAN. And most of these guys have only played like maybe 3 or 4 LANs ever. And there were local LANs, like against just, you know, smaller competition. Now they have the potential to maybe play up against like, you know, a top 15 team in the world, depending on how they do in these next couple of best of ones. So that's definitely going to be huge for them. I bet they've never played in front of a crowd like this probably, or on a stage like that. So that's going to be probably for them like a valuable experience no matter what happens up there.
I mean, that's actually an interesting point too, and it's something I brought up when I was in the Players Lounge earlier. There are teams here who have legitimate LAN experience who haven't played in front of a crowd like this. Like, this crowd is actually quite loud when things get fired up. So during the Avant-Garde E United game, I remember thinking, like, I have watched Vanity play multiple LANs, but he's never played a LAN in front of a crowd.
No,
like
definitely
this.
not.
It's been smaller crowds. It's
Pretty much only Moose on that team's really played on any type of bigger LANs. And hell, you even saw Nexa in that interview with Valiant. It's a team that has some, pretty experienced players. Felt kind of the same way. They felt like they hadn't really been in an environment like this before. So it's certainly very true. I think that's what's cool about these DreamHack Open events. Is it's like kind of that stepping stone for a lot of these teams to go from like top 25 in the world, top 20 in the world to like, can you break into the top 10? Like you start it here.
Definitely. This is definitely the stepping stone to making it to the next level for sure.
Well, we are going to go ahead and throw things to a break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping straight into the action, and we'll see if your boy is correct and the underdogs are going to take it. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome back to DreamHack Open Rio 2019. My name is Risk, alongside me is Tom Biz, and we're almost ready to go finally with this great game of Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
We've been waiting.
It's been a long way. We sort of got here like relatively early, and then we're just like, okay, I guess we're watching all of the games and sitting through everything, but
It's been a good day.
I finally get my first ever map of DreamHack.
Yeah,
they've kept me waiting. I think it was all done on purpose, just to make me hold on that a little bit longer. But yeah, we're going to be going into a Brazilian brawl. There's been already one of those today, and it was actually a pretty damn good game. A bit of a surprise as well, and I think we could be in for something a little bit interesting here. Obviously, Redemption, a team we know literally nothing about, but what I have learned in Counter-Strike is you never bet against a team that has a shark logo.
Yeah, never underestimate the shark, Vega Squadron, team known for that as well. Leo, trying to push in. Get an aggressive vision, but Frost just goes straight down. Knack also coming in with one, and Korea with one as well. 2 players now only remaining. The bomb does go down, though.
Yeah, that's at least something for the team. Like getting that early plant is always useful, but there's only one man left to try and fight it off, and Exit will send him packing. It is going to be Sharks with a fairly comfortable pistol round, everything considered, but as said, bomb plant, considering how it started, really not that bad at all.
Redemption, of course, from Porto Alegre. I'm pretty sure I've just butchered that pronunciation, but a city to the south of here. We're, of course, in Rio right now.
You can nail all of the Danish names, whereas I will butcher every one of those for eternity. So
it's okay.
I think people can let you off.
Thank
for,
you.
Not being able to pronounce things.
But it's actually interesting
Brazilian.
because Redemption, of course, from Porto Alegre now, used to be in Santos, which is another city, of course, in Brazil, but also represented by a football club, which is, to my geographical knowledge, to the north of here. Now we're in Rio, in the middle of everything. It's going to be a nice little image.
Wonderful. And then the Sharks are currently based in Europe, so a little bit different from them. Obviously, it means that they've been practicing a completely different style of Counter-Strike. There's something that's been mentioned, like we always talk about the sort of Brazilian flair, the differences in their game, and the thing is that like they're not going to have that. So, well, they might still have it to an extent, but obviously they've been playing the likes of Windstrike, like very sort of almost aggressive Russian teams, and they played alternate attacks, a little bit more tactical. So I feel like they should theoretically have a lot more depth to their game.
They're actually one of the favorite teams for us to practice back when they're in Europe, back when I was a coach of a Danish team, because they delivered something else. Like every single time you had a strat, you wanted to see if it worked out in a weird environment, you'd play Sharks, because Sharks would do something completely out of the picture. And that's actually really important for CS, and growing in CS is showing that different style.
Yeah.
And I think they're a team that are really good at like picking the right style into the right matchup. But now they're up against the Brazilian team, of course, from their own country, but they don't have a lot of information about it, especially on Train. The only information I could find was back when the core of this Redemption team was in Santos, and they had a 6-16 game where they got completely wrecked on Train. And that's the only thing I could find, the only demo I could find. So this is going to be a hard one for YNK or YNG Sharks to kind of come in and get some information on.
Yeah, Yanko's actually.
Yanko's
he's going to be here,
team
obviously coaching the Brazilians. No. But yeah. Right back in, obviously only some Deagles invested, pretty much the extra money that we saw coming out from the bomb plant. FP1, I imagine, got a kill or two, so he could afford to sort of put the extra money in, but nothing, absolutely nothing. Sharks just decimating them. They've gone very heavy in the rifles for this round. They know there's a buy coming in the next, or at least it's very likely. Like, you do see a few teams go for that sort of gamble buy of, okay, I'll truck you an AK, you give me a Deagle. Yeah. Wait, how's that a fair trade? never mind, okay, it's already done.
Yeah,
but,
we actually, oh, there we go. Well, Zeke will be taken out in the end. I actually saw Hunter from Valiant do that in a game early here today on Mirage. But now we're going to see the AKs come in from Redemption. This is pretty much standard meta buy at this point.
Yeah.
They're going to get some smokes as well with it, so they can run a full execute if they want to. They can also run a fake to begin with and still have 2 to 3 smokes for that late execute onto the B side. They have a lot of opportunities, and they're going to be up against almost a fully upgraded YNG Sharks because only the MP9 will be kept. The remaining of the weapons will be Ox and then the 1M4 Knack.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was saying. They prepared for this. They didn't buy many SMGs. They didn't really care about like making the money off of those weapons because they know there's buys coming. And well, they've already started things off incredibly well, finding that initial kill onto Cryo. He's going to be left in the chamber for this round.
Yeah, it's going to be a cold night for him.
Yeah, there's plenty of these jokes to go around. Let's not use them all in the first day.
You have also Knack, a player that I think is incredibly interesting, not because of his current potential and his current skill, but because of his history in Counter-Strike. Played on MIBR in both Source and 1.6, has a long history with the Brazilian scene. Like, he's one of those players, of course, you mentioned Kogu and you mentioned Fallen as some of the legendary ones, but I think Knack is on the step just below those guys. He's been around for such a long time.
His team at least started very well, but JNT is actually going to go down to Cat. They've managed to at least gain some control over towards Ivy, but they've got to be careful because Exit is still just holding off the angle, waiting patiently for anybody to try and push through. And the problem is 40 seconds left on the clock. Now, obviously, they do have a very quick avenue back on towards that A site. And actually, I think the CT side are more skeptical about B. They've seen absolutely nothing since that pick came in. And it's interesting just because the T's are kind of running out of time.
Yeah. Out of utility as well. They have almost nothing left, and here comes Exit. It's not Exit frags, but the round is almost over. 2 Ts left, and with only 15 seconds to go, they have to go for a plant in the smoke.
And the thing is, though, Leo wanted that kill so badly, but the spray down doesn't matter. RCF cleans it up, and, well, already that's going to be a 3rd round on the board, of course. Bomb plant, plus obviously the extra money that you get now. The Ts will be able to buy into this next round.
Yeah, they're going to have a decent economy from now on, but still, YNG Sharks down the CT side, this is where we expect the teams to get a big lead. We usually see 10-5, 9-6 if it's a bad half for the CT side, but 11-4 is not uncommon these days as a CT team on train, so Sharks definitely looking to just power through on this one, maybe get the first 6, 7, 8 rounds before Redemption can even come in and get their first.
Yeah, basically do what Inst did, but just not throw it away. Like that, or not throw it away, that's not keep it going, I suppose, but
allow the comeback to happen.
Yeah. Ready though? Redemption, as said, they're in with a bite. The thing is, though, it's already worse than the previous round. Loss bonus will be maximum after this one, so again, bomb plant will be enough for them to get a reasonable buy, but any chance for AWPs and all of that goes out the window, at least for them. The thing they will know is, however, that the CT side money, it's not like it used to be. You don't build that big bulk at the beginning unless you're keeping things incredibly clean. However, space taken, not bad. It's actually a trade. I think the push from Cryo is actually really important. If he goes behind the flames and just waits, the CTs get away with just a free kill.
Yeah, he saw leg there. Knack just holding the position and waiting for Cryo to pass because he knows there's a player to the left there, and he knows he can get that easy kill when the transition happens. T stuck behind the smoke here on Ivy. And with 58 seconds to go and only 1 Molotov, they're going to try to attempt this 3v4 take in towards the A-bomb side. I can't see the future, Tom, but this one should go to Sharks. That's what I see in my crystal ball right now.
Oh, especially with the positions they currently have, you can already see JNT should be there to just be able to pick off one. And even then, he can just fade away and take the advantage. Doesn't actually manage to connect anything there, and, well, gives away his spot. Rotation already coming in, and they still have to be careful of Knack as well. Well placed further forward. JNT will now pick off one. The second falls, and he'll get all 3. He was just waiting a little bit. He gave them the warning shot, was saying, look, if you fall back, I'll let you live. But, well, obviously, they're not going to be doing that.
Nope. Another round goes in the back for Sharks.
Yeah.
4-0, and looking pretty good exit on a 5-0 scoreline. Fitting as a CT.
Yeah, this is also one of the, like, in terms of like a T-side map, it's one of the worst maps to go off to a slow start. Yeah. Because it's so easy to get bogged down. Like, you can just run out of strategies within like 4 buy rounds, and you're just like, I don't actually know what to do now. Do we just run into B again, or do we just try and keep pressure? Like, you'll see after maybe 7-0, the Ts will probably just start trying to go really aggressive into A main, or just silly things. And it is one of those maps that if you don't get maybe 2 or 3 rounds just early and you get yourself a little bit of a buffer, you can kind of panic quite easily.
And I also think that's why like Train is touted as such a strategical map, because you have to keep your a cool head at all times. Even though you're behind, there's still a possibility of turning around to have if you're down 0-7, but it gets so hard on Train because you feel like there's no way to do anything, to have any effect. And RCF will try on his own here. Rotation's coming in from Leo. So now 2 players onto this B-bomb side where Redemption are going to hit in a few seconds. Couple of smokes, couple of flashbangs, and here we go.
Yeah, Bomb Plant obviously helped them out a little bit in terms of finances into the future rounds, and they will actually be able to get that, but this is where they need to take some control, because if they're just holding back, they're getting absolutely ruined by these AUGs. At least one trade will be able to come in, but they can't retrieve that weapon. There's no way they get it back, and well, eventually you just see Sharks just easily trade out these remaining kills. It is going to be 5-0. As said, Bomb Plant, it's not actually so crucial for this next round, but then going forward, if they don't get a Bomb Plant later on, it will give them those buys more frequently.
You know, Tom, it hurts my CS heart when I see a CT with an AK drop the AK to pick up an AUG.
It's the meta now. This is
yeah,
how
I know.
it works.
I guess I'm just old in that sense. But that's exactly what happens here. 3 players survive, an AUG, an AK, and an AWP. So, good setup. Exactly the setup that Sharks actually want in this situation. They can go for whatever they want, full utility as well. It's going to be an MP9 from RCF, even though this is a full buy. So either RCF knows something that we don't, or he simply didn't keep the money into account. That's very strange. But he makes it work nonetheless. In combination with the AWP, he just plays the close range, and then Knack gets another frag outside, and all of a sudden it's a 5v3. This is the buy from Redemption. All their marbles. All invested. They couldn't invest anymore. Still have money in the bank, yes, but they can't really use that money if they get this out of it.
Yeah, no, this is just not the start they were looking for. And RCF, this is where things start get worrying, where he's able to just do this. He's just taking complete control of the upper B halls, and well, you can see the remaining players on the CT side are so much more passive over towards that A side. They're just waiting patiently. They have the man advantage. They've got themselves into a position where now Redemption have everything left to do. And while they're kind of hoping that maybe they can pick off an angle, but after you see an MP9 and a smoke like that go down, you're now just in a really, really horrible position. It's
actually quite interesting. They're stacking 1-4, even though they have so many players still alive. Still 5 players alive on the CT side. RCF is the only one on this B-bomb side. Yes, there's going to be a quick rotation from both the CT player and the connection player, but still that's incredibly risky in the situation where it is 5v3. They can easily just stack 2-3. And still have a good round, but RCF just tears them up. And Cad, last man standing bomb is down. He has the Molotov, but he needs the bomb down for that one to work. And he's so far away from that at this moment. Done. Yeah. It's done. Just 4 kills.
Yeah, RCF, honestly, the confidence that he had in that round was madness. And those are the sort of things you start to see when a team is just utterly dominating.
Yeah.
Not only going for an MP9, going aggressive with it, then throwing the deep smoke, falling back, finding more kills along the way, and then just being like, right, I'm getting that last kill. It's mine. It's going on the score sheet for me. And wow, what do you do?
Already now, timeout has been taken, which I believe is the right choice. This is where I would have taken it as well if I was the coach of this Redemption team. They need to figure something out, because 6-0 is returnable. You can get back and have a decent T-side half. You still only need 3-4 rounds, and then you can come back in the CT side in the second half of the game. But they need to get something done. They need to have some kind of feeling of they can get around at some point. Right now, so far, the closest they've been has been the pistol. Redemption now searching for an opening. FP1 is searching for his first frag. They need to find something.
Definitely not the start that they were looking for. And you can see the CTs looking for those initial wall bangs, trying to chip down this T side already. No aggression this time. In fact, a complete switch up of what we've seen already today. RCF is now going to be passive with an AWP. That's got to hurt so much. You're expecting somebody to be up close, you're checking all of these angles, and then you go anywhere near that ramp and you're getting shot with an AWP.
It will allow them, though, to get close in and get smokes down, so we're definitely going to see a plant here. I think we're, without a doubt, going to see a post-plant situation. The question is, how good are YNG Starks at retaking when you already have a couple of players down towards the bomb site? Ali is pushing up very aggressively. They're not finding anyone, but Lecture through the smoke. But Ali's position here is godlike. If he just waits patiently, he can do so much damage here.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is what you want to see in a take of the B site. Just get very aggressive, get up close, make sure the CTs don't have any control of this site whatsoever. The only thing that could really hurt them here is maybe the flank, but you're really clutching at straws here at the moment. Already done that, push back in, lots of damage done. Actually, a TK comes in, FP1 finishing off one of his teammates, and actually the CT side have done so much damage that the remaining players are low. Still though, FP1 up close, able to get himself onto the score sheet, looking for a little bit more, but he needs his kill fast because the bomb's already being defused. He may be able to see him on the edge, and he just about gets it. What a time to step up. 3 kills in 1 round with 0 on the rest of the map.
That's what you want. You want to take that timeout, and you're going to want to get the immediate payoff. That's exactly what Redemption has got here. Gonna get some confidence back in the side. Gonna get the players rolling. And to be honest, I felt like that was Sharks underestimating the B push. Like playing that 1-4 split with a defensive ops so far back will allow them, as I said, to get those smokes down early on, get that map control, get the bomb site control without even taking a duel. And that is to give a bit too much leash, I would say. To maybe even underestimate your opponent a little bit, which will always end up biting you in the rear.
Yeah, heavy reliance on RCF. It's been like that over the last few rounds, but as you saw mentioned, he's been playing far more aggressive in the previous rounds, and this was the one way they were able to really isolate him off.
They're doing the exact same strat again.
Yeah, this time though, there's multiple players here. There's no AWP. It's just going to be onto those AUGs. Knack will at least be able to take down one. Now, they should know he's here. They should know he has to be on the site somewhere. He's played it every single round. Luckily, FP1's continuing his form from the previous round. That's now 5 kills over the space of 2 rounds. Cryo's well placed. The fact is, he's only got a UMP. He's coming up against the rifle of the CT side, and the remainder just looking to try and take those jewels. They should expect that they push forward, but again, FP1's just tearing them a new one. He really is just doing all of the damage at the moment. Exit will at least be able to trade one out, and actually, they don't expect Cryo to be that aggressive, so Exit now left 1 versus 2. Everything to do, and the fact is, he's run out of time.
There's also a Molotov on Cryo,
Maybe
but
more.
there's a smoke, and there's no time. It's going to be another save, but no weapons saved for Redemption, even though they win the round. So economy is not going to be perfect for them. Yes, they get 2 rounds in a row, but Frost is on 35, Ale is on 36, Cat is on 36. This is not going to be a good buy for Redemption, while Sharks on the other side is in the same kind of position. A couple of their players will need drops, so their economy is also going to be down in the dumpster. So this is going to be one of those turnarounds. If Redemption can get this one and get on 3, they will also take YNG Sharks' economy down with them.
Yeah, same can be said for the other side, though. Obviously, Redemption, they've got a fair loss bonus built up, obviously based off the 6 rounds lost in a row. So they would still actually have fairly decent loss bonus, but even still, they have no money in the bank, so there would have to be an eco coming in, and that's not something you want to do when you're 6-2 down. Either way, though, you look at what's actually on the board for Sharks. There's not much utility, so the stopping power coming in, especially on that B site, is going to be very difficult. They do still have a double op setup, though, and they've already got 2 players again waiting. One of them is going to be JNT, and both actually, in fact, AWPs on this site, and they've just completely ruined this offense. Gone within seconds. The double op setup has just decimated them, and CAD, well, good luck, my friend.
This is going to be a tough one. And I actually like the way that Sharks plays this one. So they kind of see, okay, the only thing that has caused us any trouble is this B push with smokes and everything. What do? We stack 2 ops there. We take the long-range tools. We make sure we have a 3rd rotator who can rotate in with 5 or 6 seconds. He can be on that bomb site. And that's the perfect counter. What do Redemption do now? Because first of all, they have this kind of eco where they can just do whatever. The next buy round, what do you do then? Because now you cannot go B anymore. You cannot go for that same B push down low with the smokes. You have to do something new. And what will that be?
Gotta be every round. This is the perfect strat. Rush B, don't stop. You know the rest. And, well.
I respectfully disagree.
Well, you know. I am an analytical mastermind, so most people will know that clearly rushing B is the perfect strategy to pull in at all times.
Obviously. Exit?
He's died once.
Yeah, 11-1. Pretty decent scoreline. Nice little shoulder peek. Goes to the information, puts down the smoke, gets a free kill, and holds down Ivy perfectly. There's not even a question about it. Confidence is soaring.
Yeah, this is just one of those rounds where you're just trying anything. Yeah. Like you're trying pushing through smoke, you're trying like aggressive pushes onto the A site. You're hoping that maybe you can catch a player off guard, catch him in the back, steal a gun. The fact is, though, for the T's, this is just not going very well. And we know that they're going to be able to buy into the next round. As said, the loss bonus still flawlessly built up, but well, if we're speaking of flawless players, Exit has just been doing everything right so far. Still only died once. Cryo has at least been able to get himself a rifle, so maybe able to do a bit of damage, which actually could play a part, because
I think that's the choice here.
Yeah, the Sharks obviously finances aren't great. He's actually made this a little bit interesting, but that was the sort of final nail.
Yeah, if he could get a third frag there in that situation, only leaving 2 CTs to survive, that would kind of stifle, not a lot, but a little bit, the economy of the opposing side. But not today. Gonna see another double op setup on the CT side and the very meta 3-AUG buy as we're used to seeing right now. But first of all, we have another pause, another timeout for Redemption.
Yeah, I think this definitely sort of needs to be taken. Things are getting quite far out of control already. 8 rounds for the CT side, and really all that's worked for them is pushing B, which it's sort of one of those things where it's like, if you don't have any diversity in your gameplay, if every time you try and push towards A or Ivy, you just get absolutely wrecked, there's definitely a big problem. And I think the biggest problem is that like Ivy is basically completely off limits at the moment. Like Exit has shut them down with like be it a single smoke or just sheer aim power, nice flashbangs coming out from teammates as well. And that avenue of the map is just gone.
Kato has opened things up towards Ivy. Bit too aggressive from J&T. We'll send him to his grave. That was the one of those 2 ops on the CT side now gone. That means this is going to be an open round for Redemption to make anything happen, but RCF playing aggressive once again inside, this time with the op. What is the plan here? What's the play for Redemption? Right now they're just waiting. This could end up in a split to A. They definitely have the utility for it, and with the 1 pick gone towards Ivy, it would be, I guess, the ideal choice. But they also have to keep in mind that they will know this by now. YNG Sharks, they like stacking on that A bomb, so they've been playing 1-4 or 2-3 for the most of the time, so they know they're going to be up against at least 3 CTs here.
Leo boosted up. Gives away his position. We'll now know where he is. This is a nice little spot coming out from Nag, just over the edge of the smoke, but he is going to be traded out. FP1 again. He seems to be the impact player when it comes to this team pushing into the sites, but he's now gone. Cryo is going to trade things back. It's left into a 2v2. A good opportunity here for the T's to actually do some work. The problem is CAD trying to sneak in with an orb. He gets the timing absolutely perfect, and now Exit, well, he's got to try and keep that nigh on flawless record going. 15 KD for him so far. He needs to add 2 more to this tally, though. Cryo will be able to get the bomb down. Obviously already half HP, he's got no utility left. He does at least have a kit, so that gives him a little bit more time, but he is making quite a lot of noise. I think the T's are definitely going to know where he is. The thing is, though, Cryo, he doesn't have any support. If he peeks, this almost gets the timing perfect. I think Exit knows that he can't really cross over from this angle at the moment, although I will say that CAD is actually just hiding. It was almost just like his teammate's going for the kill, and he's just like, nah, I'm waiting. I want this round.
He's just being the backstopper. So basically, if something goes wrong on that bomb side in that 1v1, he can still clutch the round from...
I just realized how far up J&T had actually pushed there.
And that's the thing, right? If you lead, let's say, 8-2 or something like that, as CT, some teams and some players will get a bit too aggressive for their own good. Because, of course, self-confidence is really, really good and very important in CS, but it can also be too much. For example, pushing Ivy with an AWP. That is not a choice you should make. You should hold the angle and wait for that 60-40 duel. But now, another eco comes in. This time around for the CT side, a missed Molotov from CAD. Not exactly what you want to see. But then again, this is probably, if you were to make a mistake, this is the round where you would want to make it. Because it's probably not going to have a big impact on the round.
He was just wondering if you saw Molotov Pop Dog, if it becomes Hot Dog, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him. So no tasty snack there.
Yeah, there's the Happy Dog, or was it Funny Dog?
Yeah,
the venue?
The Funny Dog, which is, I have to say, in terms of food brands, if someone tells me food is funny, that's where I start getting a little bit paranoid about what you've done to it. It's like, it's got some happy pills in it or something weird. Like, I don't want to touch that.
No, definitely not. It's going to be the push inside though, but the CTs have stacked. It's going to be quite interesting. P250 close range. Not going to connect to anything.
This DZ though, got the chance to actually line up a few. So much damage done, but he's run out of bullets. The pain of the CZ, but the USP has the chance to do that little bit more. It can't surely get himself a third. That would have been a little bit too much for my liking. Luckily, Redemption will redeem themselves. There's still 2 players lost. That's really not that bad for the CT side at all. Obviously, it was a sort of no-win round.
And once again, like, even though they were down 0-6, they took that timeout. Now they got 4 rounds on the board. This is already okay for a T side.
Yeah,
they can
it's
definitely
workable.
turn this. It's workable. But they have the chance now of getting maybe even 6 rounds, potentially even 7 if they totally grind it out. And that is turned from a 0-6. That's a great turnaround for them.
And they've still got a chance to get themselves quite a bit more, but RCF looking to get right back onto the horse. He will be able to, well, I was going to say get a kill, but it's not. It's FP1 that's actually just killing everyone at the moment, including teammates. I think that might actually be his second team kill of the game. One more, of course, and he does get banned from the server. But hopefully that won't be the case. I don't know how well that'll be enforced, but CT side, actually, majority of them all rotating in from the same angle. Knack doesn't even need any help. His teammate's cowering behind the flames. He'll get the pick, and that's actually the one aggressive player out for the T side, which is a big problem. As said, the B side, you want to be taking a lot of control. You want to be getting further forward. You don't want to be sat back what they're currently doing. Don't shoot their CAD, for the love of God. Don't help them out anymore. So this is where they, 1 by 1, full cryo now has everything left to do. He does, and they don't actually have a smoke or a kit. So this Molotov, we want the classic almost, and they're not even going to go for it. They're out.
It's not
the
even
bomb's
needed.
going off.
And he's going to survive in that corner. 5 rounds on the board now. This is a great change of pace for Redemption in this first half. We had players on 0, players on 1 kills after the first 6 rounds, and LA is still on 2 kills.
I was about to say, now he's on 2.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't really matter. Like, the
Yeah.
team has grinded back, and sometimes there's always one player who will struggle a bit because he has maybe a difficult role, a difficult position going entry into the bomb site. But what matters is that the team has come back.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the scoreline is far more important than your frag count, as I've learned many times in Counter-Strike. Well, actually, no, I haven't learned anything, though, I'll be honest. I am the biggest tilt fest in the universe. But,
Can confirm.
no, you can't. Shut up. But, yeah, we are actually going to see Sharks taking their first tactical pause. Obviously, up until this point, it was sort of a moment where it's like, we're still in the lead by a few rounds. But now it's getting to the point where it's like, they get 6, 7 rounds on the T side. You're actually starting to worry quite a bit about that.
And this is kind of a desperate buy as well from Sharks. We see the auto shotty, we see the MP7 come out, missing utility on the FAMAS player, missing utility on one of the off players, only 1 kit. This is not a good buy.
Yeah, and that's with obviously the 2 weapons that they managed to keep in the last round as well. So you consider that, and it's actually quite an atrocious buy. It's the 3 players just sort of buying what they can. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of the XM. It's a fantastic weapon, so that I'm not mad about at all. FAMAS, on the other hand, not so much of a fan, but hey, there are some people who can use it. I am not one of them.
Fair enough. You gotta know your strengths and your weaknesses. It's important in life. See if this bad buy can turn into a good buy for YNG Sharks. I say it gets shut out from the server.
Oh,
And
that's not
they
bad.
will shut them out. Leo with the double. And Cat close range. He's going to be turned off by that smoke. And AK's picked up. And yeah, just as said, the bad buy will turn into a good buy. 2 players dying straight off. And RCF dropping down.
Love it.
2v5.
See, he just seems to be the man to use, like, whatever he can. We've seen him with an MP9 kill, like, very aggressive, then switch up to an AK. Now he's pulled out an XM, a cheeky $900 going into the last round as well. And they are just picking Redemption apart. I feel like, although like we have seen the scoreline quickly switch into like one that's actually not that bad for Redemption, I don't ever feel like Sharks particularly lost control. I think they just got cocky.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about self-confidence, I think it then can quite easily turn into the sort of cocky nature. I like this. RCF is actually just standing in the default plant spot. So it's like, yeah, you can try and plant yourself the bomb. It's not happening. Then they follow us up the other side. They've basically given Frosty absolutely no chance. And Exit is going to be there to close things out. They get themselves a 9th, a 10th round, and wow, they're still in a pretty good position.
This is, as we said at the beginning of this cast, usually the scoreline we end up in. We end up with a 10-5 or 9-6. An 11-4 is not unusual, but this is the normal way that train is played these days. So, but coming back from a 0-6 and turn that, let's say, into a 6-9, that's a good turnaround for Redemption. They're going to go aggressive outside. They're going to get A lot of space. Molotov will deny the Olaf position, but still LA has gotten out here. Cryo with one, but immediately traded. And that's nice from the CTs. If Exit could get anything done here, that would be an advantage, but now he's dead. And it's a 4v3.
Yeah, a lot of the aggression from Sharks is starting to become a little bit predictable. Like, you could see them when they pushed all the way through there up towards the upper B portion of the map. They were definitely prepared. And this time, Ali's finally going to get a little bit of luck going his way. The CT side trying to reposition to take some spots away from Ivy. And instead, they've now actually been caught out. Still managing to trade it back a little bit closer. And considering all the remaining players are coming out from Ivy, they've actually got a fairly strong spot. Like, this electric position needs to be cleared.
It's going back up towards Olaf and RCF. Very aware of that, but we're going to follow Knack. Because he has the perfect position, but another team kill comes in. And now it's RCF, the MacGyver of Counter-Strike, to clutch this one with the tools he has at his disposal. And now it's a 1v1.
I'm not sure actually what happened there. It seemed like FP1 was just completely away from the action, probably just hunting out that remaining player, maybe expecting him to be over towards Pop. Instead, it's his teammate's head that goes in that fashion. Does manage to retrieve the bomb. Obviously, the reposition from RCF does make things a little bit more interesting, but he's able to get himself that bomb plant. Will he expect him to come from Ivy? It looks like he will, and he's going to win it out as well. Definitely a man of impact is FP1, and they're going to get themselves 6 rounds. And as you said, that's how many they were down by initially. To bring that difference down to just 3, really not bad at all considering they're on the T side.
Definitely not. We're going to take a short break and then we're going to be back. Number 241 in the world against number 69, and still only 3 rounds separating them, Tom.
Did you bring up that fact just because one of them was number 69, or was that just a
because the scoreline is 9-6, you know?
Ah, yes.
Numbers, man.
That's what I was referencing.
Of course.
Nothing
I know you.
else.
LA on the, well, Ali would be the old school call, but Ivy, it's also fitting, but Cad is in the position, and he's going to pick up a triple. Demolishes them.
Yeah, absolutely ruined. And while FB1, he's actually going to get dinked up as well. JNT. I wonder if his name stands for gin and tonic, because that's what I think of whenever I hear that. But
that's GNT.
Either way, like, it works, because it sounds like a J. I can do what I want. I make the rules here, Risk. Like, you need to get to know. Maybe my first DreamHack, but I'm changing how things are spelt even, clearly.
Yeah,
But,
that's your power.
Maybe I'm just an alcoholic.
It's kind of like a superhero movie where you're not sure what the superpowers of the hero is, and then it just turns out he's super OP. I guess that's you.
Yeah. Sure, let's go with that. Anyway, JNT, or GNT as he's now called, he's looking to try and do the damage. Actually manages to pick off one, but Cryo will put a stop to any sort of comeback in that round. And while now Redemption have themselves the pistol, this game is a lot closer than Sharks would probably have wanted.
Yeah, and for the first time in the game, you also see them a bit hyped up as well. Like, that's the first real reaction we've seen from them, apart from just grim faces during a timeout, looking very pressured. But this time here, it's more happiness and full eco, of course, for Sharks. That means the Redemption are going to get on 8, and if they win that first round, it's going to be a tied game. So not much between these two sides at this point, and Redemption, they have a real chance.
Yeah, no, I think after the sort of early start that they had, we sort of ruled them out of, okay, this is Sharks doing what we expected them to do, the team we've heard of, the team we know. Redemption obviously coming into this tournament so late, like, as late notice pretty much as it can get. That's not bad, a Glock kill, even 2, a bomb plant. What more do you want?
This should not happen.
That definitely shouldn't happen. He's got no armor still. Like, I don't know how they've managed to get this far. The MP9 should just shred them down. Get rid of these remaining players. GNT, though, he's actually got a decent position. Now, CAD has a massive advantage. He should just defuse the bomb.
Yeah.
Like, there should be absolutely nothing that JNT can do. But either way, bomb plant and 4 kills. The only gun that's going to be saved, or the best gun that's going to be saved, is actually going to be on the T side, at least in terms of value. And the MP9 is all that was kept for the CTs.
$200 was the investment in this round for the T side.
Well
One
spent.
flashbang. And they get 4 kills and a bomb plant out of it. That is bang for the buck, as you would say.
Yeah, for the same price, you can get a night with risk. But you know what? I'd take myself getting the 4 kills and the bomb plant.
Yeah, I would as well. Self-confidence is important, but FP1 in the other situation, taken down to 45 HP. Frost also down to 4, so a good start damage-wise for the Sharks. They do have those AKs and, of course, the AWP on JNT. And the FAMAS saved on RCF. Not a bad buy, and already now 120 left to go. No utility left on the CT side.
The thing that's most interesting for me is the fact that CAD did not buy anyone a gun. Like, he's kept his MP9. He's got no utility, and he has 5 grand. Like, this is the point where if you have, like, a prominent AWPer, you go, right, destroy them. But they haven't done that. In fact, it's JNT on the other side who has an AWP. So this is weird, because even if, say they lose this round, that 5 grand is going to go nowhere. Like, okay, maybe you get a Deagle each.
Yeah, drop Deagles.
That's not worth it. You want to be trying to focus on this round. And even if it was just like maybe drop 1 rifle, drop a FAMAS as well, those 2 players then get utility. This is already a way better looking round for them. But nope, he's going to keep that money. I guess it will come useful if they do go for an AWP later in the game, but could have had one here.
Yeah, it's true. Let's see if it's going to pay off not having that up, because right now it seems like they're horribly out of position. No one on that B bomb side. The closest players will have a 3 seconds rotate time to go in there. It's going to be a free plot. Yeah.
He's got the worst weapon possible for this sort of spot. The only thing is if he can catch the close player, which somehow he does. Like, Knack knew exactly where he was. It won't matter, though. Leo's already found the trade. I think the remaining players should already be looking to save. Like, you don't know how far forward. Already RCF in the back line as well. They've got to kill him before they even think about a retake, and he's going to take down Frosty, and he knows for a fact that all he has to do here is stay alive. Like, he doesn't need to get a single kill more and they've won themselves the round, because he's holding players
It's already done.
Yeah, like, and the CTs, they've gone to Ivy, they've gone to Hyde.
T side will survive with 4 weapons, 3 weapons on the CT side. One of them, though, is a FAMAS, so not the best one to save up.
I think we found one of the only scenarios where that extra money is actually going to be really useful. Yeah. Like, there were not many scenarios where I was going, yeah, that 5k saved is smart.
And now, yeah, he can drop an M4 and still get an AWP plus decent utility. So somehow, some way, it turned out to be a smart move.
I hate that. Like, you have no idea how much I hate that. that what actually happened made no sense, and then it comes back to work.
Yep.
Like, that frustrates me more than most people will understand. It's always one of those things, though, where it's like, and there is no way they can win this round. Then they win it, and people are like, well, you said there was no... Yeah, I know. No way in a logical universe.
There we go. You have to remember that this is not a logical universe.
Yeah, it's all being controlled by Anders.
Yeah, of course. Simulation. If you can recommend a couple of books on that subject. Anders
Please, no.
probably also has a few.
I don't even know how to read, so unfortunately that isn't going to work. If you can get me the audio book of the movie, then sure.
I'll get you that. Sure, don't worry. Leo trying to make his way into that bomb site.
Okay.
Knack with a flash assist. There we go. Cryo is done and dusted.
I thought he was going to get one back through the
that
same
would
gap in
be
the smoke.
ridiculous. But Leo with another opening, not through a smoke, but FP1. All backs are turned, and he's getting a couple of frags and going for a third one as well, but will be shut down by Leo's great position.
FP definitely the one to sort of turn rounds whenever it happens for Redemption. Nobody else has really stepped up in the same sort of form. CAD, he's got his AWP once again, but he's basically hoping for a mistake here. Somebody has to peek into the angle, otherwise he's probably just going to have to fall back and save, because you're not going to be able to just run in and hit flicks with the AWP in these sort of scenarios. I wouldn't mind if he did, but... Oh, there you go, actually. Straight through the site itself. He manages to get himself a pick. Knack still up above, though, could be the thorn in his side. And actually, RCF is already going to finish him off before anything more can be done. Frosty doesn't really have a chance to win himself the round. No kit will at least take himself an exit. But the fact is the T's are going to be absolutely fine in this scenario. They get their 11th, and Knack just about escapes with that AWP as well.
See, normally, if, let's say you get 5 rounds and you win the pistol and you're on the CT side, I would definitely favor you to win this game. But YNG Sharks, they don't really care about the stats. They're just going to go into this, take another round. And these are the rounds that matter, the big buy rounds, where everyone has full equipment and all that stuff. And they're taking them with relative, ease. Yes, Frost is going to get a couple of frags, and it comes down to a 1v1 in the end, but the bomb explodes. But I don't really feel like that was a tough round for YNG Sharks to kind of grab back. I felt like they were in control of most of that round. And now, one AK and then pistols.
But yeah, look at where all of them are. Okay, sure, the AK is on the other side of the map, but FP1 again. He always seems to be just picking up these double kills, doing damage. Actually gets himself a third. This is starting to get a little bit dicey. As you said, there's only pistols and an AK, but the AK's still standing. Unfortunately, Knack is going to catch him before any sort of rotations can be done, so yeah, FP1 again. He's making things costly, he's making things interesting. Obviously, I think you have to bear in mind that he does actually have 2 more kills than it currently says, because he seems to be taking a few teammates with him as he goes. But yeah, there's definitely some light on this team, at least. I would say that it's not like this has been a wipeout. I will say, though, that it seems like there's been a lot of situations where they could have capitalized, and they really haven't. Yeah,
a couple of players missing the mark, and Frosty and Ali, both with a few amount of kills, and also both just around 50 ADR below that. And if you want to play on the big stages, 50 ADR is not enough. Simple as that.
40
Frosty holding down the fort. The push is going to come in when the smoke dissipates.
He's going to be all alone, exactly the same as what we saw in the other half. That was actually the big weakness for the Sharks, was this B site, and already we're going to see the same sort of trades come in. A quick rotation out from the CT side. They will make their way back towards the site, but they don't have much utility. They can't stop this plant. They do, however, remove Leo, and that's a big factor. I spoke about the aggression in the previous half. They've stopped that. 2 players left to the site, the other looking for any sort of rotations. Now, there are no rotations coming, and look how low these remaining players are. The only interesting thing could be that Molotov from JNT. As we mentioned before, no smokes available, so they can't really do too much. And here we go, the classic, the bounce off the door, onto the bomb. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to stop it, and even still, they're going to kill him afterwards, and they'll be able to defuse it anyway.
Okay,
I think they found one afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway. There would have been enough time. Kind of risky to let the guy without the defuse kit go for it, but in this same sense, no one had a defuse kit, so it doesn't really matter. They had enough time anyways. Would have been close. I think it could have gone down to the wire if there was no smoke.
Yeah, if they didn't find that smoke, I think they actually lost that.
Yeah, it would have been down to the last second. But you never know. But we don't need to trouble ourselves with that. We have the scoreline of 12-9, and that's just fact at this point. Full buy for both teams now. Almost full utility. CT's missing a bit, but they also have an AWP and 2 AUGs.
This time we're just seeing the T's a little bit more patient in their plays. We've seen a lot of just sheer aggression coming out. And actually, just as I say that, RCF is going to try and fade his way in. And this is a problem, because FP1, I think they know he's here, and they do. Exit will be there to close him out. And he's just been caught in no man's land. Nice shot onto Cryo as well. That sort of boost position up in the ladder is a horrible place to clear. And while now just the Sharks seem to come alive. This is what I mean. They sort of lose one of these rounds that's a little bit close, and then they just go, wait, we're better. And then they just walk into the site and just absolutely ruin everyone.
Once again, Leo, he's not a guy who picks up like a 3K or 4K, all the flashy plays, but he's still picking up frags every single round. He's sitting at above 100 ADR at this point.
Yeah, both him and RCF.
Yeah. But RCF, he's more the flashy player, I feel like. Leo is more the kind of holding back a bit, not showing all the cards at once.
Yeah, I think he's like the sort of clinical player where it's like there's one kill that could turn the round and he'll be the one getting it. Just like, okay, I've made sure I've cut off rotations, or I've made sure that I caught that player on Ivy who was just getting ready to push back into the site. They're frags that basically very, very high impact.
Yeah.
But like you're not going to be like, oh my god, he's just done that. Like I think that's the same for Exit as well. Like, Exit is way more flashy when it comes to the plays he was making. Like, we saw him on the CT side. He's definitely slowed down from what they're like. The start that they had was mainly based off him. I think he was like 15. Well, maybe
yeah, he was 15 and 1.
So like he's definitely slowed down since then. But it seems like other players have picked up the slack.
Here we go. Round number 23. Cryo this time. On the E-box area. Once again, splitting it 1-4. Seems like both these teams love the setup where they only run one player on that B bomb site, and then one who can rotate in after 10-20 seconds to clear out and maybe put a smoke down low if it's needed. Now they're going to commit after the smoke goes down lower. We do see FP1 rotating in to help Frosty on that B bomb site, and that could be the time to strike. That could be where they want to go out of main, and Popdog and Cryo in position will only take one.
Yeah, I think he needed a little bit more from that spot. They're now going to look to try and isolate Cad, who's already burnt down to just 37 HP. But again, FP1, he's actually managed to drop the bomb. They're going to go for the same plant once again. He's had to fall back a little bit and goes for another aggressive play, and he's actually going to hand away the man advantage. In fact, RCF now gets a second as well. The T is able to gain so much control. They've already got themselves in towards the connector, and now the wraparound starts to begin. This is where things could be really painful for the CT side, because they are completely clueless that the Ts have taken so much control away, trying to push back in together. Obviously, we've spoken about Ali not having much of a game so far, and although JMT is going to be dinged, it doesn't matter. He's going to be finishing off, and there's RCF. We talk about the wraparound, and it eventually gets the final kill.
And this CT side from Redemption has been almost non-existent. Apart from winning that pistol, they have not been looking good on the CT side. And to be honest, that's the only game that we can draw anything out of, was that Santos versus Daytona game where they lost 6-16 on train. That was also their problem. They got 6 rounds on their CT side in that game. And it's kind of the same scenario we're seeing rolling out right now.
Well, that's always surprising. Like, if you, especially when we talk about the pick bans, if you let a map through that you're not good on the CT side on, you've lost your mind. Like, it can't work. No matter how good your T side is, there's not really a map now in the pool that benefits the T side. Like, you could argue maybe Dust 2 a little bit, but even that's still fairly balanced. And then, well, on the other side of things, it was only ever really Cash, and that's gone.
Yeah. Ellie, that's about to be gone as well as RCF pushes it. What bullets! Straight to the face of FP1, and Knack comes in, clean up crew. That's going to be the round.
I bet he had a proper giggle when he got that one. That's one of those kills where it's just sort of like, there's a little bit of luck, and obviously the skill to obviously hit the shot at the same time, but those are one of those ones where you go, oh, just got away with that. But now 5 versus 2, the CT side already left with a very underwhelming buy. And it's a horrible scenario when you're almost saying, do you save the UMPs?
Yeah, it's at this point, doesn't really matter that much, because let's say you get 2 kills. The economy is still pretty strong. 7.5 on RCF, 5.8 on Knack. You'd have to get almost like every single kill to do something here, or get the round, and I don't think that's feasible at all, like with 2 UMPs and no kit. So it is a tough call to make, but I think statistically it is the right call. But still, like, you're gonna allow Sharks being on 15 and you're on 9. Yeah, it's tough.
One round needed for Sharks to get themselves that victory. Obviously, a win here will put them up against Valiant, almost like the sort of final boss of this group, the one that we expect to just breeze their way through it. Obviously, that match will be played parallel to our other winners game. So I believe there will be other streams another stream to cover it. I think it can be watched elsewhere. But yeah, Redemption will face off against another Brazilian foe. So if they can't bring this back, but with the bye they've got, I can't say I'm particularly holding my breath.
Yeah. The odds are stacked against them. RCF has been a force to be reckoned with this time towards the Ivy, where Ali, the statistically worst player on Redemption, is currently waiting together with his teammate, but it will be Cat to hold it down just with the scout now, and Ali returns to that B bomb side to play 3-2. Bomb still not picked up. There's not been a choice made, and that's Sharks just saying, yeah, we're just going to prod around and see if we can get an opening somewhere. And if we get something, that's good. We're actually going to expect that because we feel we have control of this game. But if not, okay, we're just going to pick up the bomb, hit whatever bomb site we feel like we have the best chance on. And that's it. Molotov to cut out the pop dog position, but I think it's a bit too late. FP1 has already rotated. He should have rotated away, but the edge of the smoke is there, and that's going to save him. If that smoke wasn't there, he would have lost at least 40 HP.
Off the back of this, the T's now start to make their playback. Look at the position from RCF. He's managed to just cheese his way through the side and actually going to be trying to do damage on towards the A side. I thought he'd just go for the straight wraparound onto B. Instead, he's looking to hold off all the rotations. FP1 didn't even know where he was getting shot from. Completely confused. And now Ali, well, they needed him to step off slightly. RCF, just a little bit of a shooting range towards the end as he ends this 16-9. And while they never got into that CT side, you said they only got 3 rounds. 1 was a buy round, the rest of it was just off the back of the pistol. That's not what you expect from a team when it's sort of this ban phase. Like, get onto a map where your CT side's strong.
In this case of the myth, Goliath does beat David, and the world's number 241 will have to go down into survival mode. While of course our friends from Sharks will go on.
Yeah. I think this is going to be one of those things where you sort of talk about, okay, there's going to be another domestic match. They know who they're going to be playing this time. Obviously, they got about as much time they had to prepare for the overall tournament. So obviously hoping for a little bit of redemption. Obviously, it has to be used once, and we may not get another chance.
There it is. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to toss it over to the desks to see what they have to say about the game.
I like that he brought that in. He had to like try and sneak in. It's like when you watch a show and they sneak the name of the show into the show and you're like, oh, I see what they did there. So I was wrong. I went with I was like hoping, and I'm watching rounds backstage. I'm looking at Dust and he's like getting a little like, he's like, come on, what's going on here? And I'm like, yeah.
You can't always be right, Buck.
No, apparently today I can't.
You can't always be right either, so there's that. But no, I mean, getting into that game, I mean, that first half was certainly at least a little bit competitive. I was actually pretty impressed with a couple of players like Cryo, and in particular FP1 were playing pretty well for the Redemption side. But yeah, that second half was just domination from Sharks on their T side. They won 7 of the last 8 rounds. They only really gave up like pistol and save after that, and like 1 gun round. So they really dominated from there, and it was kind of what we expected. Like, they are a really well-drilled team on train. They're very comfortable at how they want to work the map, and they were winning all their key duels, really well coordinated, and you just kind of saw that all come through.
He definitely did, and really unfortunate for Redemption because, as you mentioned, that first half they did actually keep it competitive, but I think they just ran out of gas, and sometimes you do see that with a little bit more inexperienced teams is they gave their everything in that first half, and they made it actually fairly close, but you could definitely see their nerves kicking in, especially in that last round. You saw CAD in a 2 versus 1 scenario, and he's just planting the bomb as he's getting shot at by the enemy, and in those 2 versus 1 scenarios, when you have the man-up advantage, you just keep it simple, right? And you just go for that trade and guarantee that round for the Redemption side. And so Yeah, really unfortunate for them.
I mean, they were down 6-0 at one point in the first half to still manage to get 6 rounds on their own T side in that first half, and those lead us off the back of the really successful inner hits, I feel like, a lot of time. They also were just able to kill clock against a lot of the retakes. So, again, you saw a little bit of something there from them, which is actually probably more than maybe most people expected, just to see them even competitive in that first half. But in the end, you're going against a team like Sharks, who's definitely a lot more seasoned, and the end result was kind of where you thought it would go.
For sure, and speaking of their inner hits, I thought Redemption's inner hits were okay, but I thought Sharks was a little bit lackluster in that inner bomb site. But however, their defaults actually for Redemption side on their terrace side was actually really beneficial for them. They were able to get a lot of alley control. They were up 5 versus 4 in 3 different scenarios with a man advantage, but they weren't ever able to convert those rounds. And that's where the experience is going to come in. And your player, you got to keep it simple. They were able to get those picks at alley, and they could have done an inner crunch, but I think they were paused and trying to figure out what's going to be their best play. And you could definitely see them thinking in the game and trying to pause and regroup themselves, and it didn't work out too well for them.
Well, we do have one of the members of Sharks standing by for an interview. Did you expect to be playing Train against this team? I mean, we looked at the numbers beforehand, and Train is one of your better maps. Was that something you thought would happen?
Yes, we did. We planned the game, and we thought it would be Train, and it did. So, yes.
Yeah, so obviously you guys haven't really played an offline event in a while. I think the last event would have been like PLG Grand Slam back in December, if I'm not mistaken, but you had a pretty good little run there. What do you think your team needs to do next to kind of regularly get out there in the LAN environment and try to take some steps forward?
Well, actually, we need, of course, to get better online results. We had a few bad results in the past few months, but we made a 3 weeks bootcamp in Europe now, and we are very much stronger, and we are much more prepared for the upcoming tournaments. And I think that actually we need to just do better online.
I've got a quick question for you. Now, we didn't know much about Redemption, but they are a Brazilian team. Are you familiar with these players in that team? And
yeah.
Did you know what to expect from them?
Yeah, actually, I know all of them. And Frostazor, for example, I've known him for like 5 or 4 years. And they are pretty good individual players, but they are a new team. And actually, they have a lot of talent, and I expect them to be better in the next months.
And so I know you guys have kind of been playing together since probably I think the final lineup was like maybe March of 2018, whenever you kind of got some of your last players on the line. So you've been together for quite some time now. What do you think has been some of the biggest hurdles you faced trying to, match a team like Fury, who's also from Brazil, who's really been taking a big step up lately?
Sorry, what hurdles means? I don't know.
So I mean, you guys have been playing together for a pretty long time
Yes.
now. What do you think's been some of the biggest issues you faced along the way?
Well, as you said, we are one of the oldest teams in the world, and the main issue, not the main, but one of the issues of our team is like when we are in Brazil for a long time, we kind of get worse because the practice here is not the best, and we are not 100% focused all the time, and that's a big issue for us. But alongside this, I think that it only benefits us because as you get closer to the teammates and to the organization, this only benefits us.
All right, well, we'll let you go in just a second, but we will give you an opportunity to say something out to the Brazilian fans out there watching and the ones out in the audience as well. Is there anything you'd like to close with?
Well, I would like to say in Portuguese if
Yeah, that's what I mean. Go for it.
Galera, eu agradeço a todo mundo que torceu pra gente hoje. O jogo estava marcado para 5h30, acabou atrasando um pouquinho, mas obrigado por todo mundo aí que assistiu. Gostaria de agradecer o apoio de todo mundo. A gente está vindo de uma fase ruim, mas a gente se preparou bastante, muito mesmo, e a gente está muito confiante para mandar bem nesse campeonato e também nos próximos que vão surgir. Eu gostaria de agradecer o apoio da minha família que veio aqui no Rio, da minha mulher, Daniele, que está aí comigo, sempre comigo, dos meus parceiros de time também, que sempre estão comigo, e vamos para cima. Go Sharks!
I got the last part there.
Go
Congratulations
Sharks!
again on the win. Leo, we'll let you get back to your team.
Thank you.
I got the obrigado.
Yeah, he got the obrigado
I got
in there.
that one.
We got that one.
That's one word we've become very accustomed to saying because it's like the only thing that we know how to communicate is like, oh, this person just did something nice, obrigado, thank you. But otherwise, our Portuguese is very much lacking, unfortunately. We'll learn it. Dust has been, I think you've got your regular encyclopedia, and then you've got your Portuguese
Unfortunately
translation.
not.
Oh, you forgot? Did you leave it at home?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
You left it at home. I thought you were cross-translating, so you were like going word for word, trying to figure it out
Absolutely.
slowly, piece by piece. Well, we are going to go ahead and throw things to a break. We do only have one more game, so just a quick explanation. Because of the delays, we're going to be playing one of the games off-stream, unfortunately, and one of the games on-stream. So it's going to be Avant-Garde versus INTZ to see who's going to be moving on to the playoffs later on. Stay tuned.